Welcome to the deep dive. Our goal here is simple. Take all those sources you've got, articles, notes, whatever, and really dive in. We pull out the key takeaways, the surprising bits, basically the stuff you need to know without getting swamped in details. And today, wow, we are looking at the just relentless pace of AI. We've got stuff covering big legal fights, some really cool research, and even how AI is kind of quietly changing how we connect with each other.
It really feels like that, doesn't it? Every single
Yeah.
week, there's a flood of AI news.
Mhm.
And it's not just tech anymore. It's hitting privacy, history, even, basic human interaction.
Mm.
So our mission here is to help you cut through all that noise, figure out what's actually important right now.
Okay, let's jump right in with something that definitely caused a stir. This big legal development in the OpenAI versus New York Times case.
Yeah.
A court order forcing OpenAI to hang on to user conversations. And we're not just talking current chat.
No, this is the kicker.
It covers millions of users, and crucially, chats people thought they'd already deleted.
Yeah. And what's really striking here, I think, is the why behind it. The New York Times, they're in this copyright lawsuit, right?
Right.
And they pushed for this order. Basically, they were worried OpenAI would delete conversations. That could be evidence showing maybe the models were trained on NYT stuff or were reproducing it.
Okay, so it's about preserving potential proof.
Exactly. And it hits a huge number of people.
Mm-hmm.
Free users, plus, pro, team users. Pretty much the standard user base.
So wait, if I used ChatGPT, had a chat, and specifically hit delete in the settings, that chat might still be on their servers because of this court order.
That seems to be the implication, yeah. Which feels, well, pretty counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, delete usually means gone.
Absolutely. It's a big step and honestly a major privacy concern for most individual users. Now, they did clarify that certain users are excluded,
Okay.
like enterprise clients, education users, and API users who have those specific zero data retention deals in place. But for your average person using ChatGPT, this definitely shifts the ground under what delete means.
You can guess OpenAI wasn't thrilled. Sam Altman, I saw, called it inappropriate.
Yeah, he said it sets a bad precedent. He even brought up this idea of AI privilege.
Like doctor-patient confidentiality, but for AI?
Sort of, yeah, arguing that maybe those conversations need some kind of protected status.
And this really hits home for you, the listener, right? Because it's all about trust.
Exactly. Think about it. People are starting to share really personal, vulnerable stuff with AI, using it for brainstorming, creative work, maybe even like a kind of digital sounding board or therapist.
Yeah, I can see that.
So this court order, forcing them to keep data people thought was private, it kind of shatters that trust, or at least puts a big question mark over it. And this is happening just as AI is getting baked into everything.
You mean like wearables or always-on devices?
Precisely. Imagine this kind of data retention issue when the AI is always listening or always monitoring. The potential problems just multiply.
That idea of AI as a confidant, it links perfectly to this other piece we saw about OpenAI's own thinking on human-AI relationships. This came from Joanne Zhang, their head of model and behavior policy.
Right. And she talked about something really fundamental. Humans anthropomorphize. We just do. We give human traits to non-human things.
Like your car or a pet rock.
Or, in this case, AI.
Yeah.
Especially an AI designed to be helpful, empathetic, validating. It can feel surprisingly human, giving these non-judgmental responses that people find really appealing.
So OpenAI must have to tread carefully designing these personalities. What about consciousness? Do they think AI is conscious?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Zhang basically said, look, whether AI is conscious is, for now, kind of unanswerable. Yeah. They're not focused on that.
Okay, so what are they focused on?
On how users perceive the AI, whether users think it's conscious, and how that perception affects people's mental well-being. So their design approach is quite specific.
Oh, so?
They aim for a personality that's warm, helpful, approachable, but crucially, no fictional backstory. No pretending it has feelings or personal desires. It's a tricky balance.
Trying to be relatable without misleading people into thinking it's, well, alive.
Exactly. But here's the bit that really jumped out at me from Zhang's comments.
Yeah.
She suggested that how we interact with AI as these relationships evolve might actually start to shape how people relate to each other.
Whoa, okay, unpack that. How could talking to an AI change how I talk to, say, my friends?
Well, think about it. AI often provides immediate, positive, low-conflict validation. It doesn't argue much. It doesn't have bad days. It's designed to be agreeable.
Right, it's easier in some ways.
So the question becomes, if people get used to that kind of interaction, does it change their expectations for human relationships? Do we become maybe less patient with the complexities, the disagreements, the messiness of dealing with real people?
Huh.
It implies that AI labs aren't just building tools anymore. They're kind of accidentally designing new forms of social interaction. And these could ripple out, change norms around empathy, how we see connection, maybe even validation, like a huge social experiment, really.
Hmm.
We're stepping into unknown psychological territory.
Okay, that's some heavy stuff. Let's pivot now from the really personal and legal side to something completely different but just as fascinating. AI digging into the past. Like, way back, the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah, this is a fantastic example of AI's strength in pattern recognition being used in, well, maybe an unexpected field like archaeology or history.
So what did they do?
Researchers developed an AI system, they called it Enoch, actually, and trained it using tiny bits of the Dead Sea Scrolls where the age was already known pretty accurately through radiocarbon dating.
Okay, so the AI learned what writing from, say, 100 BC looked like versus 50 BC?
Essentially, yeah. It learned to pick up on incredibly subtle differences in handwriting styles linked to those known dates. Tiny variations in how letters were formed, the spacing, things a human eye might miss or interpret inconsistently.
And then they unleashed Enoch on other scroll fragments.
Exactly. On fragments where the dating was more uncertain, maybe just based on traditional paleography, the study of ancient writing styles by eye. And Enoch's analysis, combined with the other evidence, pointed towards some texts being maybe up to a century older than scholars had previously estimated.
A whole century, that's significant.
It is. It could push some texts back as far as 2,300 years old, potentially putting them right into the lifetimes of the people traditionally thought to have written them. And a huge plus. This AI method doesn't destroy anything.
Unlike carbon dating, which needs a physical sample, right?
Right. This is purely analytical. It just looks at images. It
Yeah.
really shows AI isn't just, chatbots or image generators. It's a tool for discovery, wherever there are complex patterns hidden in data.
Like we saw with the Herculaneum scrolls, too, the ones buried by Vesuvius. AI helped read those charred papyri. It's amazing for archives, museums.
Totally. And this kind of analytical power feeds right into the new generation of AI tools we're seeing pop up, like Hux. Have you heard about this one?
Hux? No, tell me. Sounds different.
It's from some ex-Google engineers. They're calling it a personal audio companion.
Okay. Like a personalized podcast feed.
Sort of, but more interactive.
Hmm.
It pulls info from your email, your calendar, news feeds, and creates a personalized audio briefing just for you, updated through the day.
Interesting.
But the companion part is key. You can apparently interrupt the audio briefing, ask follow-up questions, ask for more detail on something, or even change the topic entirely, and the AI hosts just adapt the conversation on the fly.
Like having your own personal radio news anchor who takes requests.
Kind of. It's invite only right now via an iOS app. They sometimes drop access codes on their X account, apparently.
Okay, that is novel. Very different. Now, speaking of new tools making big claims, what about EXA, this frontier research agent?
Right, X said they're making some bold claims about factual reliability. They cited a score 94.9% on OpenAI's Simple QA benchmark.
And how does that compare?
Well, they claim it puts them ahead of some well-known models often used for research tasks, like, say, Gemini 2.5 Flash or Perplexity's Deep Research Mode. And they also say it's cheaper to use via their API.
Benchmarks can always be debated, but still, how do they say they achieve that accuracy? What's the secret sauce?
They point to their core search model. They say it's a unique neural model that's better at understanding the actual context and meaning of your question, rather than just matching keywords or relying solely on its internal knowledge base.
So better understanding leads to better, more accurate synthesis of information.
That's the idea. It's available via API, so developers and researchers can build on it or integrate it.
And it's not just general research, right? We're seeing AI getting really specific, like for scientific discovery.
Oh, absolutely. Future House, for example, released a model called Ether. It's designed specifically to generate novel molecules with certain desired properties.
For drug discovery, material science?
Potentially, yes. And what's interesting about EtherS is that it's designed to be interpretable. It can apparently show its train of thought, explain why it proposed a particular molecular structure. That's huge for scientists.
Yeah, you can't just trust a black box for something like drug development.
Exactly. And on a similar note, there's Boltz 2. This was open sourced by MIT along with Recursion, a pharma tech company.
What does Boltz 2 do?
It predicts how a potential drug molecule might interact with a specific protein in the body. And it does it fast, like 20 seconds fast.
20 seconds. Seriously, what was it before?
Often hours. maybe 6 to 12 hours, using traditional computational chemistry methods to run those kinds of interaction simulations.
Wow. So that could massively speed up finding new drug candidates or even finding new uses for existing drugs.
That's the hope, a huge potential accelerator.
These tools sound incredibly powerful. But there's also research questioning what these AI models are really doing, isn't there? Especially the reasoning models.
Yes, and this is a really fascinating counterpoint to all the hype. The big hope around reasoning models, the ones designed to think step by step, was that they were a leap towards, artificial general intelligence, AGI.
The idea being they could truly think through new problems.
Right, and that they'd just get better and better with more compute power. But some Apple researchers decided to test that assumption.
How'd they do that?
They set up a range of puzzles, from pretty simple pattern recognition up to really complex multi-step logic problems that would challenge a human expert. Then they tested both reasoning and non-reasoning AI models on these puzzles.
Okay, makes sense. And the results?
Well, the non-reasoning models actually did best on the simplest puzzles, maybe because they didn't overthink the obvious patterns. The reasoning models shone, as expected, on the medium difficulty puzzles where breaking the problem down helped.
But I sense a but coming.
But here's the twist. On the hardest, expert-level puzzles, the reasoning models didn't just plateau. Their performance actually seemed to drop off. They gave up more often or failed more spectacularly than the simpler models.
That's counterintuitive. Did giving them more computing power help on those hard problems?
Apparently not. More compute didn't seem to push them over the edge for the really tough stuff.
So what does that imply? That these reasoning models aren't actually reasoning like humans do?
That's kind of the conclusion the study points towards. It suggests they might just be extremely good at recognizing and applying patterns they saw in their training data. But when faced with a truly novel, complex problem outside those learned patterns, they hit a wall, much like the simpler models.
Meaning, maybe they're just sophisticated pattern matchers, not nascent general intelligences.
It certainly raises that question. It suggests that maybe true AGI, that flexible, adaptable intelligence might be further away than some headlines suggest. And crucially, getting there might need fundamentally different approaches, different AI architectures, not just bigger versions of what we have now.
It's just one study, of course.
Of course. But it's a really important piece of perspective, a bit of a reality check amidst all the talk of imminent AGI.
Yeah, definitely food for thought. Okay, wow, we've covered a lot. Let's do a quick run-through of some other interesting AI updates that caught our eye from the sources, just to show the sheer breadth of what's happening.
Good idea, sort of a rapid-fire round.
Okay, Anthropic added a national security expert to their trust and safety board.
Yeah, it shows how seriously the big labs are taking safety and potential misuse, especially geopolitical risks.
OpenAI rolled out an updated advanced voice mode.
Making the voice sound more natural, less robotic, and improving translation, getting closer to that seamless conversational feel.
Anysphere launched Cursor v1.0, that's the coding assistant.
Right, with new features like a background agent that analyzes your code as you work, and a bug bot to help spot errors in code submissions. Tools for developers.
Google's experimenting with portraits.
Yeah, AI versions of specific experts. You could potentially talk to an AI trained on, say, a particular historian's work and voice. Personalized knowledge interaction.
Higgsfield AI has Higgsfield Speak.
That lets you create talking avatars from images, customize the voice, give it a script for presentations, content creation, that kind of thing.
Google AI mode getting financial data visualization.
So you can ask it things like, show me a graph comparing Apple and Microsoft stock over the last year, and it'll generate charts right there in the chat, making data analysis more accessible.
Eleutherry AI released a big licensed training data set.
Yeah, 800 gigs. Super useful for researchers who need lots of clean text and code data that they know is properly licensed, avoiding copyright headaches.
And that Heartfelt Technologies AI scanner, predicting heart failure risk from foot photos.
Amazing, right? Analyzing thousands of foot images a minute, looking for subtle signs. They're claiming around 83% accuracy in identifying early risk markers. Healthcare is a huge area for AI impact.
It really is incredible, the sheer variety. From courtrooms and psychology to ancient history, drug discovery, coding, finance, healthcare.
And alongside these big developments, there's also just a constant stream of new tools becoming available for everyday users or specific tasks. Our sources highlighted a few that are trending right now.
Right, let's list a few of those, like the latest Gemini 2.5 Pro update showing better performance.
And text-to-speech is getting crazy good. 11v3 Bland TTS, they're mentioned as producing really realistic multi-language voices.
Hunyuan Video Avatar for making talking head videos easily.
Flex Context, that AI image editor sounds cool. Modifying objects within an image, changing styles, editing text that's part of the picture.
Pylon, aiming to be an all-in-one customer support platform, tickets, chat, knowledge base, AI assist, all together.
Podgen turns articles, videos, PDFs, whatever, into a quick AI-generated podcast, repurposing content.
And Pretty Prompt helps you write better prompts if you're not, a prompt engineering guru. Takes your basic idea and helps flesh it out.
The specialization is really increasing. Tools for everything.
Absolutely. So wrapping this up, we've gone from these fundamental questions about trust and privacy sparked by the OpenAI and YT case through the really deep psychological questions Joanne Zhang raised about human-AI connection.
To AI unlocking secrets from the Dead Sea Scrolls, speeding up science with models like Ethers and Bolts 2, and even that Apple study making us rethink what reasoning really means in AI.
Plus that whole whirlwind of new tools and updates, it just shows how AI is weaving itself into, well, pretty much everything.
It really does. It's not just a tech story anymore. It's interacting with law, society, history, science, all at the same time.
So maybe here's the final thought to leave you with after this deep dive. Given how fast this is all moving, how AI is showing up in places you might not expect, getting into your devices, maybe changing how you interact online, how do you see your relationship with AI changing in, say, the next year or two?
And maybe think about what other areas, totally unexpected areas, AI might pop up in next. Where could it make a difference we're not even considering today?
It's definitely a space to keep watching, keep thinking critically about.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the latest AI developments. Keep exploring, keep asking questions.
And we'll catch you on the next one.